What started as a peaceful demonstration soon took a turn for the worse.
It's difficult to keep the eyes open, it's difficult to breathe, but there is a hardcore bunch of protesters around here. They say they will resist until the end.
But the tear gas kept on coming, much of it fired from close range, directly into the crowd. This is the Easter procession known as the Affrontata, one of the most colorful reenactments of the resurrection of Christ in the Catholic world. But in the Italian town of Sant'Onofrio, this procession is less about God and more about godfathers. The procession this year went by without any incidents, but authorities here say that the local mafia, or the 'Ndrangheta, doesn't need to carry statues to prove its power and grip on local towns like Sant'Onofrio. It is now more powerful than the Sicilian and the Neapolitan mafia, and therefore traditions like this one, the Affrontata, are destined to become a thing of the past. These are some of the 2,000 migrants who arrive here at the border between Serbia and Hungary every single day. Now, to call them migrants is a bit restrictive, really, because most of them are asylum seekers from war-torn countries like Afghanistan and Syria, and they are looking for a better life in Europe for both themselves and their families. Most of them have been on the road for days, if not weeks, to get here. They are tired, they are hungry, they are thirsty, but they're also relieved because they know that at the end of this railroad is what they're looking for, the European Union. Well, most Italians have been locked in their homes for about a week now to stop the spread of coronavirus, and this is how they are coping with it now. Every single evening at 6 p.m., many Italians all across the nation show up at the windows, terraces, and balconies to sing a song or play an instrument, or in that particular case, to play pots and pans. Ho provato a vendicare I fedeli di Loreto a cui non ha dato la mano. Prima l'igiene. Il problema è che a un certo punto una mano bagnata. Ah, per quello troppi baciamano. Se c'è chi se fai un raggio è più per loro che per te. Tens, if not hundreds of people from the big Muslim community here in Molenbeek, a neighborhood which is literally just a few minutes drive from the center of Brussels, have turned up here in one of the main squares of this neighborhood for a vigil in memory, remembrance of the victims of the Paris attacks. Now, this helicopter is part of a fleet aimed at spotting migrant boats out at sea, and still many avoid detection and reach the Italian shores every day. A cry for help from a refugee center that looks more like a prison. Their ages range from 11 to 17, and the authorities here feed them and take care of their basic needs. But most of all, they want to tell their families they arrived in Italy unharmed. In the absence of phones, this correspondent gave some of them his to make the call their families were waiting for. Demanding independence on the day millions voted for it. Independent supporters here know that even though they voted in their millions on Sunday, their vote will not have any binding effect on the status of Catalonia in Spain. At least they can claim they won the right for an official referenda on independence. It only takes 4 minutes to reach 400 meters underground, and conditions soon become unbearable. It's hot and humid, and miners usually don't stay longer than 8 hours. But at least 30 of them haven't left since Sunday. The strike has so far been peaceful, but authorities are worried about what's behind this gate. There's 692 kilos of explosives in there. Well, usually that's used to blow open new holes in the mine, but in the hands of angry miners who say they will fight to the bitter end, this could turn into a dangerous weapon. This man should be among the most recognizable faces in Europe. José Manuel Barroso is the president of the European Commission, and his decisions affect the lives of hundreds of millions of Europeans. But very few of them seem to know who he is.
Mubarak?
Prodi. Yes, Gordon Brown.
Boris Johnson.
Mayor.
To most Harley drivers, this is more than a motorbike. This is a style of life, almost a religion. But how did they go from being associated with violent gangs like the Hells Angels to being blessed by the Pope?
Pope Francis spent the last 2 days in Poland in the name of mercy, the theme of this year's World Youth Day in Krakow. But today he visited one of the least merciful places on earth, the former German Nazi concentration camp of Auschwitz. Until today, standing inside the Sistine Chapel was an awe-inspiring but also frustrating experience. Visitors will be only 20 meters away from the world's most famous frescoed ceiling, but due to poor lighting, some of the details of the biblical scenes painted on it were hardly visible. Now you can almost feel you can touch the hand of God. The island's history reads like a horror story. This is what's left of a hospital for the mentally ill built on the island at the beginning of the 20th century. It is said to have been run by a sadistic doctor who used to perform unauthorized lobotomies on his patients before he plunged to his death from the island's bell tower. During the press conference on the flight back from Dublin to Rome, and of course the Vatican, Pope Francis touched on many subjects, of course abortion, same-sex marriage, and of course the sex abuse scandal that rocked the Catholic Church in Ireland for the past few decades. But perhaps the most interesting answer of them all is the one that he refused to give.
A small town on Savona in northern Italy is known as the City of Popes. Two powerful pontiffs came from here. And yet, this is home to the latest case of clerical sex scandal that has shocked the Catholic Church. Al Jazeera traced the priest to this remote village on the hilltops above Savona. He wasn't home. And his neighbors didn't want to be associated with him.
Well, Venetians don't need scientists to tell them that their city is sinking. While researchers used advanced satellite technology, residents here have been tracking the rising sea level for centuries with more unorthodox methods. By checking the traces left by microorganisms in the water on their city walls. This is where the water stood in 1792. This is where it is now. That's about half a meter higher.
It's not to say the Vatican is being poopy come lately to this. They've recognized climate change for a long time.
The Vatican claims it was among the first institutions to believe that global warming is caused by human activities. The Vatican's Pontifical Academy of Sciences was the first exclusive scientific academy in the world. Among its first members was Galileo Galilei.
I don't know if you really want to list Galileo.